Really good summer. I think players are really working hard. Got a great staff. Guys are excited. A lot of momentum going into the off season. A lot of video games being played, Mike. So if you want to, what do I fit that 35? Do I? We're together. All right, that's good. So we can maybe get a video game going on later if you want to. But yeah, great summer. A lot of momentum going on. Obviously, high expectations, but that's fun. That's the fun part about the business. I'm a lot more accustomed to something like that than kind of the situation we went into last year. So really excited. Got a good team, and excited to be here as well. Questions?
Questions? Raise your hand, guys.
GJ, Carter Yates with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. With the headsets coming to quarterbacks' helmets now, how does that help you as an offensive play caller?
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to kind of see how it all plays out. I think it's going to not hurt. It's going to help certain people, and I think some people it's going to, probably stay as it is. It'll be interesting for sure. I think the way we operate, not to get too much into it, I think it'll really help us. We've been practicing really since the spring. We've been doing it, and I like it. I've always said if we were able to do that, I think it would really help us. So I'm definitely excited about it. I think there's going to be the defense and special teams and all that, making sure you don't have too many green dots on the field, I think will be key. Offense will be the quarterback. That'll be easy. But on defense, make sure you have enough helmets and the backup helmets and make sure your quarterback has so it's one of those deals where there's going to be some things that you probably have to work through. But I'm for one, I'm really excited about it, and I think it's really going to help us. Where I think it's not. It won't affect some teams the way they operate at all. I think they'll still signal, they'll still have their boards and do all that. Where it'll drastically change us.
Yeah, a pretty young coaching staff, a head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. What are some things that you've done to kind of help that process? I know you brought in Coach Morris and some other guys. Kind of what's the importance of kind of balancing the youth with the experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like you said, bringing in someone like Chad Morris and his experiences and his wisdom, and then on defense, Bradley Del Pivido, just somebody that and then myself, Coach Baylor too. I think that's key. So I kind of have someone in place on offense, defense, and then for me as a head coach that, and all three of those guys have been head coaches as well, so I lean on them in different areas. But I think it's always good to have balance, just like a basketball team. You got to have short guys, you got to have tall guys. So it's been fun, and we really get along. I think that's the key though, is like hiring the right people, and really. Coach Peeve was the only one I didn't really know, but I knew he would be tremendous by the amount of good people that reach out to me. It's like the people that reach out to you, when Colt McCoy calls you and like, hey, standing on the table with this guy, I was like, okay, there might be something there. And then the more you talk to him and the more he's an elite recruiter, great person. So he's been a home run as well. And then obviously I've known Chad since my time at Tulsa and had my best year under him as a player, and gave me my first job and worked for him a couple spots. And so that's been really fun. And then obviously Coach Bailiff, played against him when I was at Tulsa and he was at Rice. So we had that relationship then, and got to play him against him at Commerce when I was at UIW. So we kind of kept that relationship, and he's been huge, especially now in the NIL world and the relationships and San Marcos and everyone knows Coach Bailiff and everyone loves Coach Bailiff. So he's been a huge part of our success.
GJ, it's Greg Lucas, San Antonio Express News. I wanted to ask, for you entering the second season here, it's the first time in your coaching career being at the same spot 2 years in a row. How has that experience been new or different or beneficial for you?
We bought a house, so that was good. We rented the first year and just kind of figure out where we wanted to be and all that kind of stuff. But man, it's been different for sure. It has been, and I talked to Jeff and he always just tell me like after the year one, the honeymoon phase is over, and I was like, all right, whatever. But it's true. But it's been fun. I think just like especially some of those UIW guys that came. This is my third year in a row coaching them. So that like when Nash Jones leaves, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like one of those deals. I'm so used to seeing him every day, and they know how we like to operate now. And obviously now in the portal, and you're always going to have a bunch of new guys every year. But it's been fun to at least have those core group of guys that to see him now for multiple years, and administration too. I'm not having to learn a new AD, not having new president. So that part's been fun. But yeah, it's been different for sure. All right.
We got one running to you.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Hi, Coach. Dave Wilson from ESPN. What's that you talked about, Jeff, and going back to you guys being sort of rivals on the field, but he's a mentor off the field. What is that relationship like in season or in off season? Does it differ between the seasons?
Yeah, I think so, and it's definitely like not yeah, as you can tell if you're on social media, it's not a sort of rival anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like obviously we got to win one, but it's one of those deals where it's and I guess I didn't even understand that dynamic. I'm like, hey Jeff, can you help me get this job? And obviously he's like, yeah, sure. And then he calls me, he's like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that. You know, one of those type deals. But he's awesome, and that's what it doesn't matter. Recruiting, wins, losses, that relationship. Like when I had Swayze a couple days ago, my little girl. He was one of the first people I texted, first people I called. Him and Jordan are on a group chat, send them over. And, so that part of the relationship's never, when you're recruiting against them and playing against them, obviously that's different. And I think, leading up to the game, probably won't talk to them as much. As soon as that game's over, just like it was last year, texting and calling and all that kind of stuff. So, and not just him, Carrie, they just, they celebrated their anniversary. So Jeff's like family to me, and that'll never change.
As the revenue sharing happens at the Power 4 level, what do you think the future looks like at the G5 level in terms of revenue sharing, NIL, money behind the scenes?
Man, it's a good question. I don't know if at least I don't have the answer. Maybe like the SEC people do. I don't actually know. But I do know we've already been in talks, and President Danfus is on board with it. So we are going to be part of it. I think that's going to be, especially people at our level, like, are you going to be able to even do it? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a big question probably for a lot of G5s. Are you going to be able to do it? So we've already started that process and kind of see how it goes, but I don't know.
Coach Mike Roach, 24/7. Forgive me if this has been asked. I walked in a bit late, but going back to last season, first game, you go into Baylor. I know a program that has a special connection for your family,
Yeah.
and kind of a dream start. Just can you kind of go back to that and talk about how special it was to start the season off there and the way you guys did and how proud you were of your team?
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up because it was special and not just for me. Obviously my dad played there. I was, my mom and dad had me. I was in Waco for my first year of my life. My brother was on the team there. My sister graduated from there. My uncle's, a big booster there. So it's one of those deals where, like, I was committed there for a long time, decommitted, went to Texas. So it's my aunt went there. So it's like I have so many connections there. And to be my first FBS, game as a head coach and going down to Waco and my dad to be in the stands. It was just, and then just the way we played. I thought we played extremely well when really nobody, I don't remember the spread, it was like 20-something, 8 or something. No one really gave us a chance. So going in there and winning, and obviously it was huge for Texas State, getting that first P4, P5 win and doing it on the road. First game is, a new regime. I thought it was really cool. So I think that one will be a special one that I always kind of remember for sure.
Coach, you touched on the revenue sharing part. Well, how are the challenges of a school like Texas State keeping up with the larger schools in the college football ecosystem sort of growing or changing in your eyes? Is it tougher to keep pace than it has been in the past?
I think so. But at the same time, I think you just can control what you can control. It's a situation for me. I'm trying to raise as much money as possible. I'm meeting with as many people that can help us as possible. And I think that part's been really good for us. By the time, like my first year at Texas State, we had 2 guys getting NIL. 2 guys. 2 players last year on our team had NIL. And this year you're looking at probably half the roster are getting something. So that part's been awesome. And obviously the revenue sharing, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But I think it's one of those deals where you can control what you can control and play by the rules and see what happens.
GJ Samcom for The Athletic. You had a good team last year. You should have a good team this year. Have you guys discussed at all the possibility of getting into the college football playoff if things break right for you guys?
Like as a staff, no. I mean, obviously, you see it on social media and all that kind of stuff. But and obviously the president and AD, or you've been to one of my deals, they talk about it. But as a coaching staff, we don't really talk about it as much. Obviously, we got Lamar week 1, so that's really what And then obviously you're preparing for UTSA in the summer. Sam Houston, Arizona State, those first couple of games, you're always trying to get a little bit ahead in the summer. So we've been looking at those couple of teams and trying to get ready. But once we get back, we've actually been back for. Last year we got 4 weeks off. Okay, this year I was like looking, because now you can do more with them in the summer, right? Like you can actually go out there and like when I was in school, you couldn't do any of that. So we got like 2.5 weeks. My staff probably don't like me, but I had my wife was pregnant. Where am I going to go? I can't go anywhere. So then she was, so it is what it is. But we've been working for a little bit, so that part's been fun. Kind of getting back and you're always trying to find an edge, always trying to gain some advantage somewhere. So. That part's been fun, but I don't remember the original question. What do you got?
Is it fair to say, though, you consider yourself a legitimate contender to win this conference?
Oh, the conference for sure. I think we got a real opportunity, especially I think in the Sun Belt's unique, and I think that's one cool thing. We're the only Texas school, so that was one of the reasons. Like we should win the Sun Belt. Like we're in Texas, so it's a situation with the recruiting and all that. We'll have our media days, but you look at the Sun Belt, there's so much turnover. You got Troy has a new coach, South Al has a new coach, Monroe has a new coach. I think the school, like in Arkansas State, obviously they beat us last year, but I think they're going to be pretty good just because he's been there so long and he's recruited really well. Just the portal changed it. I think that's probably the best thing we did all offseason was keeping guys like Ben Bell, was keeping Ish Mahdi and being able to keep those pieces. It don't matter who we could get. We couldn't get anyone as good as those guys in the portal. We don't have enough money. So, like, being able to keep those guys was huge for us. And a lot of you look around the Sun Belt, I think we're probably the only team that was able to do that. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple, but I'm talking about, like, your real guys, like your star power guys. So I think that gives me a lot of confidence. Obviously, you got to go out there and do it. And, last year 1, you're trying to figure it out, what the conference is like. We're busting the Lafayette, and I'm like, we ain't doing that no more. So it's like one of those type deals. You're trying to figure out the ins and outs of the conference. I didn't know anything about the Sun Belt. So now year 2, feel like you got a little more confidence going into it just because you just know you're more familiar with it.
Last two.
You just touched on it. How do you go about retaining your talented young players? What's the process to keep larger schools from potentially poaching them?
Yeah, I think it's the relationship part of it, and it really is. I mean, obviously we had to ante up and get the NIL going. That was probably as soon as the Rice game got done, when they announced that multi-year transfers could transfer as many times or whatever, and when that happened, I mean, I was literally on the phone at as soon as the game got done. I had Gatorade bath, and then I'm upstairs calling donors, calling guys on the team, and trying to keep our guys, because I knew what was coming. I knew no matter, oh yeah, coach, we love it here. I knew before that portal deadline was open, you were going to have those conversations like, so we were prepared for it. And I think the relationship part, and people love San Marcos. They love the university. They love the school. I think they really enjoy winning. I think that was good. Just like Ish, like he was able, kind of like me, he was able to stay somewhere. He knew he was going to get to go to media day. He could be the face of the program and still get some money. So I think that part was important to him. And it's hard to find that, but I think, Ben Bell, like that dude got in the portal, he could have gone anywhere. I'm telling you, the dude is really good. So being able to he's an Austin guy, so, so it was that part was big for him. But I think, especially on defense, like hiring Dexter McCool, you go out and hire some different guy that comes in and is a little bit different scheme, and you could have seen some guys bounce. So I think strategically, who you hire, who's around your kids, your strength coach, all that matters, especially now more than ever in college football.
Last question.
Coach, you talked about the turnover, and you mentioned South Alabama. To see coaches go be coordinators at sort of bigger schools, is that I'm not putting you on the spot about you, but I mean in general, is that a conversation that happens? Obviously, the money, all the challenges of like you just talked about the portal, is that a conversation that's happening among your peers, or do you think we'll see any more of that?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the situation, where you're at in your contract, the amount of money you're making, you're winning, you're not winning. And the opportunity to where you're going. Like, Coach Womack got an opportunity to go to Alabama. That's pretty cool. Like, I'm not interested in that. I think for me it would be more NFL, something along the lines of that. But I enjoy where I'm at, but I'm sure, probably just depends on the situation.